This is readogterrain. Welcome back to the shed. Today we're building a beer mat diorama. So my friends at Game Changer Studio reached out to a couple of us YouTubers and set out a challenge. But before I could do any of that, I really needed to clean the shed. So the beer mat challenge was to build anything you want, as long as it was less than 10 centimeters, about the size of a beer mat or a beer coaster. And with that idea, I wanted to build a diorama. I enjoyed building the ziggurat so much, I decided to kind of keep going with that and make another little tiny diorama. So I found this wooden coaster at the craft store, and I just I put a piece of foam on it and then used the Proxon to cut it out to fit. Then I took my utility knife and I wanted an angle. My thought is that this was a forested area with a small woodland creature on a hill. So after getting the slope cut onto it, I glued it down and slapped it on the mat. And then I decided to try something that I'd seen other people do, but I knew to be rather difficult. I was going to attempt to make my own trees. There's a technique where you take a piece of wire, fold it over, and you put all the other wire in between it, and you twist it, and then you flock the whole thing, and it looks pretty good. So I cut a piece of wire that was 10 inches long and then folded over to make it 5 inches. I cut some of this green craft wire at about anywhere from an inch to 2 inches, and started to put them between the two pieces of folded wire. So I was laying them out, and they just kind of kept sliding all around. So I realized I needed to come up with something different. And that something different was to put it down a piece of wax paper, and then tape down a piece of wax paper, and then super glue all the pieces in. My thought was that they would stay together. I used, for this little part, nearly an entire tube of super glue. And while I lay little bits of wire on top of other bits of wire, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe the video. I'm at the time of recording, I am super close to 1,000, which is kind of one of those benchmarks, and I'd appreciate it if you let a friend know and subscribe. Things seem to be working fairly well until I decide to try and pick it up. I think it's good to show when building these that not everything works out. Not everything works out the first time. In fact, sometimes it's just a total disaster. You see that even though just because somebody's on the internet doesn't mean they know what they're doing, or they're doing it right, or that they're doing a great job with this, and that it's okay to fail, and you can fail, and I failed. However, the most important part about failure is learning from your mistakes and to put yourself back together and keep going and try it again, or try something new, or come back to it later, or just completely throw it in the trash and start over. But as long as you just keep going and keep trying, that's how we get better as people, as crafters, as a society. And that's what I did. I scrapped the whole thing. I had these really cheap Christmas trees in my foliage drawer, and they looked really bad, but I'd seen a technique where if you do the right kind of dry brush on them, and you paint from bottom to top in a dark, and then the middle is kind of a lighter gray, and then you go bottom to top the opposite direction, a lighter color, it actually really changes the whole thing, and actually it makes these cheap trees that you could buy for $1 or $2, makes them look quite good. And that's what I think I achieved here. Just 3 coats of dry brush, and look at the difference here. I'm kind of impressed with myself with this one, especially after the previous fail. And I'm going to go back to the wire eventually, the tree wire, the wire trees. I'm going to go back to that eventually and give it another shot, see what I can do. I'm going to watch a bunch of YouTube videos and figure out how other people are doing it and see if I can do what they did. So with my new trees ready to go, I whipped up a batch of Sculptamold. This was quite a runny Sculptamold, and then just covered the whole thing, and eventually put 2 different washes on it and dry brushed it. I marked out where I wanted to put my 3 trees, and then just dabbed on glue kind of around, naturally underneath trees you don't get a whole lot of foliage grass just because the light doesn't touch it. And also wanted to leave a pathway between the trees, where a natural pathway where animals would be walking through. This mini Pringles can is just all the extra flock. As I do projects, I scoop it all back in here. So love this kind of stuff because it's looks to me more natural, because it's just it might be 7, 8, 9, 10 different kinds of flocking or grass or whatever, and it makes it look more natural, because it's in nature, grass and foliage stuff is chaotic like that. I glued down a couple of flower tufts and some regular tufts and some small little bushes. I painted the sides black before I was completely done. I'm not really sure why, but I did. So if you've gotten this far and you like what you see, please go ahead and subscribe and leave me a comment. I've had people say they don't know what to comment. How about this time you tell me what's your favorite letter of the alphabet? So I'm not the best mini painter in the world, but I thought that this little diorama needed a little bit of life to it, so I got this little fox off of Etsy, painted him up as best as I could. I stuck him on there, and after that we're done. I'm going to be quiet and let the music play as we go to the glamour shots. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing.